KPIs investors should focus on? Is it Bitcoin per share? Is it MNAV? Is it BTC yield? And what do your investors and shareholders seem to care about the most at the end of the day?
So this could be a very long answer, but I'll try and keep it fairly brief. You can get as complicated as you wish, but what I would do is I would recommend that somebody looks at three things. So the first one is the MNAV, really easy to work out. You can find it online. Most Bitcoin treasury companies have an analytics dashboard that you can see. What the MNAV means is very, very simply, it's the value of the Bitcoin versus the market cap. You know, maybe below 2 is pretty low, below 3 is relatively low, maybe above 5, 6, getting expensive, not financial advice. So you've got your MNAV. Then the second thing that you've got is the BTC yield. So this is really important. So a company like my company will issue equity, which increases the shares in issue. In return for doing that, it will generate capital, which in our case gets deployed into Bitcoin. So we issue shares and we buy Bitcoin. So the growth in that Bitcoin held is the BTC yield. So you're calculating the growth in the BTC versus the dilution caused by issuing the equity, which is, in very, very simple terms, made possible when the MNAV is greater than 1. Then the third thing, that is something that not a lot of people talk about, is the size of the company. And very, very simply, the model is ever so slightly easier the smaller the company. So if you look at, say, the market cap of the company, one of the components of your MNAV calculation, you'll be able to see the size, with the theory there being, which isn't, 100% true, that the larger you are, the harder it is to raise additional capital to make that much difference to your BTC yield and therefore MNAV.
Andrew, you and I were talking kind of earlier, and Matt, I'd like to get your perspective as well here too, as the CEO of Strive. We're talking about what's valuable to shareholders, but does that necessarily align with what's valuable to you as the CEO? Like, what are you guys looking at ultimately at the end of the day to value your own companies?
Yeah, so for us, we are on a mission to outperform Bitcoin over time. Because if you aren't doing that, there's no reason to do the strategy. You should just buy a Bitcoin ETF. And so for us, it was, how do we deploy our resources? We have a very talented team. There's a lot of talented teams in this space, right? But each team, like sports teams, have different strengths, different weaknesses. And we're an asset manager. And so as an asset manager, we're used to looking for alpha strategies, meaning, can you outperform Bitcoin without even taking Bitcoin-specific risk? So that's the alpha side. But then on the beta side, I think the debt markets are evolving so quickly, where when we announced our reverse merger in May, convertible notes were still the in way for people to get leverage, and now it's shifted to perpetual preferred equity instruments. And so we've kind of found ourselves in a position, I think, as probably the only Bitcoin treasury company that's doing a reverse merger, so as a SPAC, no debt, raised $750 million of capital. So that's become a very interesting opportunity for us to consider as we complete our merger. But that's how fast this space goes. When we were at Strategy World of the Bitcoin Conference in America, that was not a thing. And so for us, it's just being nimble, having fun, putting our brains together to make the best decision. And that'll be different for us versus Andrew versus Nakamoto. But ultimately, I think we're in the early days of figuring out different ways to increase the amount of Bitcoin per share.
Gurpreet, as Kraken Institutional is at the front lines here with a lot of these companies who are running the Bitcoin Treasury playbook, you get to be beholden to a lot of these conversations. What's your take on all of this, and how is Kraken supporting these companies?
I think Kraken is a service provider, so we try to, even playing field. We offer custody solutions, trading solutions, and lending solutions. What I've seen that's working is traditionally, like when you buy a stock in public markets, retail, institutional, hedge funds buy a stock so the price can go up, right? So they can sell at a higher price. So I think the winners who I see in the treasury companies today are guys that have really strong marketing strategies and hit velocity. They hit velocity very early on so they can hit the ATM and keep the flywheel going. So where Kraken helps is we provide customized lending solutions where we can lend them against their, if somebody raises say 150 million in Bitcoin, they can borrow from us for 1 week before they hit the ATM and increase their NAV. So Kraken as a service provider can, really provide to treasury companies differentiated access to increased NAV and also like touch on tokenized stocks, MicroStrategy, NVIDIA. They can trade. They have global distribution from Kraken's X stocks. So I think from a service provider lens, I think we all these areas are each play a role in having a successful treasury company.
So I want to start getting, we talked about a lot of the tangible aspects here. I want to start getting into the intangible, right? It's been very fascinating to see over the course of the last 16 months the rise in the Bitcoin treasury company narrative. And early on, you could say, hey, we're putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet and it would do multiples of wonder for your stock performance. But I think, general sentiment has moved past that. Savvy investors are really looking at the leadership teams that are executing this playbook. And Matt, like you mentioned, Bitcoin is the hurdle rate. So you guys are looking at some of the financial engineering aspects to see how you can outperform Bitcoin as a whole, to bring more value back in. So when you're looking at financing moves like convertibles, like ATMs, or even debt, how does that ultimately impact shareholder value? When are they accretive? When are they destructive?
Yeah, so first off, on the debt side, if you have perpetual preferred equity instruments, so let's say you had 30% leverage ratio and you have that embedded for your company forever, you never have to pay back the principal. If Bitcoin grows at 30% CAGR every single year on average, and your cost of capital is 10%, that just works. It doesn't matter if your MNAV is 1, it doesn't matter if it's 0.9, as long as you can meet your interest obligations, you're good. And this kind of gets into where I think the industry is going to go, is that in traditional fixed income markets, you evaluate risk typically by interest coverage ratios. How can you take your profits and cover the interest, and how many times can you do that? And when you actually put into a risk model the returns of Bitcoin and you look at leverage ratios, you see it's pretty hard to break these companies. It's possible. You can break anything, but it's pretty hard, and I think that's one of the places where I think we have a pretty strong team, just given my fixed income background. Our CFO has investment banking background. We have Jeff Walton, who has a reinsurance background. Traditional finance is a really strong place for us, and then you look at other companies. You look at Nakamoto, who's innovated in every single international market. That is unique and distinctive for them. It's super interesting. You look at MetaPlanet, what they've done in the ARBs in Japan. It's just like different teams have found different niches to provide value, and ultimately, like, one of the things that Michael Saylor told us when we got into the space was the hardest thing, can you get to $1 billion? Because when you can get to $1 billion, you can finance great teams, and it's not a large cost relative to the amount of capital that you have. You're open to do things like IPOing perpetual preferred equity instruments, and so it really is a race, at least in the U.S. markets, to get to scale. And we have a handful of companies that have done that, and then once you're there, then there's the differentiation comes in.
Andrew, from the UK side, would like to get your take on this, especially as, Smarter Webco has a very interesting, rise to fame here, starting out as a small cap pubco you guys IPO'd back in April, and to go instantly from a $3 million market cap to, I think it was, upwards of almost $1 billion, right? And then an MNAV at one point of 14x, which is crazy. People must have been thinking, like, what is Andrew doing? Is this reckless? But you're very smart, you're tactful, you're reserved. How are you analyzing risk on your end?
Yeah, so what we've done since the start is we've just stuck to our strategy. The most important thing that you can do as a public company, in my opinion, is to put the shareholders first. So since before we IPO'd to the IPO and every day thereafter, we've made every decision with them front and center. Clearly there is some risk if you invest in a Bitcoin treasury company. I have almost 100% exposure to Bitcoin and Bitcoin treasury companies, but I wouldn't be comfortable or put another way, I would always do my best to communicate the risks. You know, as an example, in the UK, we were the first company to clearly specify the risks in every single announcement that goes out. You know, if somebody can understand the risks, then in our opinion, these things are the very best valued equities in the whole world. You know, when we look at, you know, the MNAVs that a lot of them are trading in, you know, in quite a few different locations, you know, the period that they will earn back that Bitcoin for the investor is absurd when you compare it to traditional metrics like PE metrics. So that's all we do. We try and make every decision based on the investor. Ultimately, they are the people that own the company. They are the reason why I listed my business, because I wanted the business to invest that did it this way. And then we just try our best.
Gurpreet, you and I were chatting earlier about the importance of brand value and how that accelerates brand velocity. And Kraken's always been kind of at the forefront of that. You know, what lessons can you kind of share with the crowd here, and maybe even Matt and Andrew, on the importance of that?
Yeah, Kraken is one of the biggest supporters for Bitminer, Tom Lee, and we believe that's probably, after MicroStrategy, the best executed treasury company. And what we learned is that velocity, knowing when to hit the ATM, and understanding lockups, right? For investors, like MNAV can be a fictitious number, right? Because if your shares are locked, you know, your stock price rips when the product gets listed. So I think, you know, understanding how to touch the ATMs, understanding capital markets, understanding structure is very, very important. So it goes back to, right, when you start off, you need velocity to hit the game, right? Like institutions, hedge funds, pensions, endowments, they'll not invest in the 10th Bitcoin strategy company. So I think figuring out how to be the top 5 is very important to be succeed in the long term.
Maybe just, you know, a little bit of controversy is fun here. So I think that brand value is important, and you've seen that with Tom Lee's company, but I have to call out, Ethereum makes for a horrible asset for a treasury company. And, oh my gosh, why?
Everybody, a round of applause here real quick, come on.
Because Bitcoin perpetually goes up versus fiat currencies because they're being debased. Ethereum is like a company, and a perpetual strategy as a treasury asset to buy Ethereum or Solana or Dogecoin or Pepe coin, I don't really care. It's building a house on sand. And so the brand can accumulate the coin quickly, it can make the coin go up, but ultimately, Tom better start buying some Bitcoin, or I think his days are numbered.
Kraken's a service provider, so no comment. We support everybody.
So, gentlemen, we're coming up here on time. 30 seconds, final take. How do you value a Bitcoin treasury company? Andrew, final words.
So look at the MNAV, look at the yield, and then look at the size of it. Remember the 3 things that I said, and then just do your research further after that.
I mean, Kraken's a service provider. You know, we want strong teams. We're long Bitcoin. We support everybody that's in the ecosystem. So we'll, you know, through our platform, we'll back everybody.
Tom's a smart guy. I followed him for years. I like him. I just don't like Ethereum as a treasury asset, but agree. I think it's great you guys provide the service for everyone.
Gentlemen, I appreciate the time. We're at time here. Thank you very much. And Hong Kong, thank you. We'll see you later tonight.
I'm Simon Garovich, president of Metaplanet. The global financial system is broken. Where can you build long-term value when every system is stacked against you? A year ago, we were running a struggling hotel company in Japan. So we flipped the model. We made Bitcoin our core reserve asset. Everything we do flows into a single goal, increasing Bitcoin per share. Today, we've become Asia's leading Bitcoin treasury company and the top performing listed equity in the world. Now, most companies fear volatility, but we harness it. Very few companies globally are compounding value at this pace and at this scale, and we have no intention of taking our foot off the gas. We believe we can redefine the market from the ground up. And our goal is to become the most held stock in Japan.
I've got a dear friend. He spoke on the stage before, Simon from Metaplan, and I asked him, what's the hardest problem? And he goes, honestly, we're running out of Bitcoin.
That's the Bitcoin effect, and this is just the beginning.
Welcome back. We are here for our final fireside chat of the day. It is my pleasure to welcome to the stage my co-founder, CEO of Kindly MD and Nakamoto, David Bailey, and Mr. Eric Trump, Executive Vice President of the Trump Organization. Please join me in welcoming David and Eric.
Wow. Do you think Bitcoin's popular? I only see one mic up here. I think I should have maybe grabbed one more. Whoops. All right, everyone. Well, we have quite the discussion for you today. And, I wanted to start by sharing just a little piece of history. So last year when we did this conference here in Hong Kong, I got a phone call that said, there's a meeting that's going to happen in 2 weeks at Trump Tower to talk about Bitcoin, and that you have to go buy a suit right away. And so 2 weeks later we went and we made the case for Bitcoin, and that set in motion a chain reaction that now brings Eric to Hong Kong, has put a Bitcoin at 100K. It's kind of been a big deal. Let's go. So I wanted to start. Well, first off, one thing. I get asked by the media all the time, like, does the president only like Bitcoin because he wants to get votes? I'm like, I thought that was the whole point of running for office, is you're trying to get votes, you're trying to do things that are popular. But I think one thing I respect about your dad, who's done an incredible job. By the way, can we just get a round of applause for the President of the United States? So one of the things that I respect so much about your dad is that he's an entrepreneur through and through. He sees opportunity where other people don't, like a true entrepreneur does. And he saw something here that he thought was worth taking a bet on. And, I wanted to start by just hearing a little bit of the backstory, not just of your father, but for you, Eric, and how you got into Bitcoin.
Well, first of all, Hong Kong, we absolutely love you. Thank you for this incredible reception. Look at this place. This is unbelievable. It's off the charts.
It's like a rock concert.
The hospitality you've shown me since we've come into town has been unbelievable, guys, and I'm truly indebted, and we love it. Which brings me to another special person, David, and he's too humble to say this, but we were getting debanked as a family, and I tell this story every single time I'm on stage, but because my father was a political guy, we were getting debanked by the biggest financial institutions in the United States. I'll never forget it. And all of a sudden, we started meeting all these incredible people in cryptocurrency. One of the people we met was David Bailey. And he asked my dad, he calls my dad one day, and he goes, and I told this story to a different group a minute ago over there, but he called my father and he said, I want you to speak at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville. And my father calls me up. He goes, hey, what do you know about this Bitcoin thing? I mean, obviously I believe in digital assets, but do you think I should speak at it? And I said, absolutely. You have to speak at the conference. And David Bailey was the first person who invited the now President of the United States, before he was president, before, in fact, the media even gave him a shot at winning, to speak on a stage. And the community, the Bitcoin community, embraced him. The Bitcoin community embraced my father, unlike anything I had ever seen before. And I hope that's paid off in spades, because we love this community. We believe in this community. 90% of my time in life is in this community now. It is the greatest asset in the world. And we are changing finance. We are changing modern day banking. We're changing modern day finance. It's the greatest store of value that's arguably ever been created. And guys, I'm telling you, you're going to look back in 3 years and 5 years and 10 years. The people in this room are the true pioneers of the space, and all of it's because of this man right here. And so, David, we love you. We appreciate you. And thank you for starting this journey for a lot of people, including my family and including so many people in this room.
Wow. Well, I just want to say, Eric, you are the top diplomat of the Bitcoin Nation. And the Bitcoin Nation is in every country on the planet. This is the Bitcoin Nation. So good job, sir. Let's jump into business, okay? You've dived headfirst into this. You've gotten involved in some entrepreneurial endeavors. Metaplanet, I think, first and foremost. We were supposed to be joined today, actually, by Simon up here, but for some things we won't go into, he can't join us. Talk about your involvement with Metaplanet.
So where is Simon, first of all? He was right here. I saw him a second ago. Where's Simon? Simon, stand up.
Woo!
Come here. Come do a little victory lap over here. What this guy has done for Bitcoin in Asia is unbelievable. I mean, he is the Michael Saylor of Asia. He's a wonderful guy, a guy who's become a dear friend of mine, and he called me a year or two ago and he goes, Eric, would you like to become involved with the company? And I said I'd absolutely be honored to. And I couldn't be more proud to stand by his side. You know, he has single-handedly changed not only Japan in terms of the way they look at digital assets, but a lot of Asia, and he deserves tremendous credit. So to our good friend, we absolutely, we love you. You're great.
So there's Metaplanet, but there's also American Bitcoin. Talk about American Bitcoin.
So American Bitcoin, I've got our great partner, one of my great partners, Asher here, and Mike Ho. Asher's over there. But listen, I think if you know there's a family that loves America, I love the entire world, but if you know there's a family that's truly American to the core, it's ours. We've got some of the cheapest energy in the world in America, in Texas, and we developed a company called American Bitcoin. We are one of the biggest Bitcoin mining companies on earth. We mine about 3% of the world's Bitcoin every single day. We're about to go public on the NASDAQ very soon, coming up. And you know, our rough cost per energy per mining a Bitcoin is about $37,000, right? And on an asset that's trading at, what is it today, $112,000, $113,000. And so we're doing the Bitcoin mining game as well as anybody on earth, better than anybody on earth. And at the same time, we're doing kind of a strategy model on the other side. And so we could not be more proud to launch this incredible endeavor. I think we're going to be one of the greatest Bitcoin companies anywhere in the world. But what's so cool is you have this across the board. You've got the Simons leading the way. You've got the Davids leading the way. You've got American Bitcoin that's going to lead the way. You have Michael Saylor with obviously strategy. You know, he's obviously, you know, truly leading the way by what he's done. You've got nation states that are buying the hell out of Bitcoin. You've got Fortune 500 companies that are buying the hell out of Bitcoin. I mean, you've got the biggest families. You've got the biggest companies on earth that believe in this digital store of value. Everybody wants Bitcoin. Everybody is buying Bitcoin. And that's an incredible thing, and that's why I've always said that I really believe in the next several years Bitcoin hits $1 million. There's no question Bitcoin hits $1 million. And when you're in the room with certain people, and I had breakfast this morning with, you know, a couple of the most powerful people in the region in the hospitality space, and you're literally sitting there trying to explain to them what digital currency is, you realize how early we all are to this race, and how big of a benefit that is, right? I hear from people all the time, you know, should I get into cryptocurrency? Did I miss it? Am I too late? And I literally start laughing at them. I go, we haven't even scratched the surface of what Bitcoin is going to be. We haven't even scratched the surface of what digital assets are going to be. This is the time to buy. Volatility is your friend. Buy right now. Shut your eyes. Hold it for the next 5 years, and you are going to do terrifically well. And so it's been so much fun. Guys, it's been so much fun.
You know, I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this question, so you may not have an answer off the cuff, but, you know, when I think about who gets in the room with the most interesting, wealthiest, most powerful people in the world, I really couldn't imagine anyone more than the Trump family who is in those rooms. As you've been on this journey, what's the most interesting things you've heard from people? I mean, you're talking to the most powerful families in China, you know, but you've been to many countries to talk about Bitcoin. What's surprised you the most?
Well, listen, I had one person who runs a major country tell me that they literally take the entire energy supply of a major city in the middle of a winter and use it to mine Bitcoin because that's how much they believe in the asset, right? And so, you know, I'm not going to tell you which country it is or who it was, but what I can tell you is there are sovereign wealth funds who really believe in it. You've got the biggest families who believe in it. You've got the biggest banks that believe in it. You've got accumulators that believe in it. And more, you have retail consumers that are starting to understand it, but not only understand it. I think there's a lot of people who understand what Bitcoin is and what cryptocurrency is, but never really had the access to it, right? Every single day, it's becoming more accessible to the everyday person. It's easier to get. It's starting to be custody at major financial institutions all over the world. The exchanges are getting better and getting more user-friendly. I used to be the guy who, you know, coming out of the hospitality business would yell at the exchanges saying, it's too difficult. You're making it, you know, on DeFi, you're making it too difficult to ultimately buy cryptocurrency, and it's literally holding back the masses. The exact opposite's happening. You know, another thing that I'm working on is a company called World Liberty Financial. But I mean, we're literally trying to get cryptocurrency to the masses. We're trying to bring hospitality to cryptocurrency. And more people are finding their inroads into being able to buy it and being able to purchase it. In America, people are buying it for their retirement plans for the first time. It just became available. So you've got trillions of dollars of liquidity that's opening up that are allowing digital assets in for the first time. You've got BlackRock, you've got all the biggest banks in the world that are buying it, right? You've got all the major companies in the world that are holding it on their treasury of their companies, right? And they're not letting it go. Those retirement accounts are not letting Bitcoin go. Those companies are not letting Bitcoin go. Those sovereign wealth funds are not letting Bitcoin go. And there's only 21 million coins. It's the only commodity in the entire world that they're not creating more of. I mean, if gold ever goes to $20,000 an ounce, I'm going to knock down this damn building and I'll find gold in that column right there. Like, we'll find it. That can't happen with cryptocurrency. That can't happen with Bitcoin. It's finite. And that's what makes it so damn powerful. And being in the room with those people, including the people this morning who are all of a sudden intrigued and you better believe are going to go off and start buying Bitcoin. Again, the people that are in it now, the people that are buying soon, those are the people who are going to win the race because those markets, those capital markets, are opening every single day and just making it more accessible to the masses that want the greatest asset that's arguably ever been created.
So in Nashville, your father promised to make America the Bitcoin superpower of the world. And he laid out a pretty ambitious timeline. You know, I think some people were skeptical he could get it done. And then he's proceeded to just knock it down one after another. We just got the stable coin bill passed. We got the SBR signed into, I mean, he's done so many things, it's kind of wild. You know, we're here in Hong Kong today. I don't know if it's, you know, if I should say this, but, you know, the other Bitcoin superpower in the world is China. You know, it's one of the biggest markets for Bitcoin, Bitcoin miners, Bitcoin users, Bitcoin held. You know, how do you compare, you know, what America's doing on the policy front and you know, what is coming next and, you know, where the other Bitcoin superpowers of the world are on their policy side?
Well, listen, congratulations to everybody in here because there's no question that you have made an unbelievable mark on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. There's no question that China is man, a hell of a power when it comes to this world and doing it well. By the way, I give the same credit to the Middle East. I mean,
the Middle East has really embraced cryptocurrency in a massive way, and they are running fast in that endeavor. And by the way, there's a couple small countries in South America. They don't have the buying power. They don't have the GDP. They don't have the true monetary means. But what's equally as important is they have a hell of a lot of heart and soul, and they believe in it. And so what they lack maybe in terms of monetary resources, they certainly made up for in spirit. But, again, not to try and ever play, one country against another, I do believe, because my father really believes in digital assets, and he took over from a totally incompetent president. I can say that. Biden was totally incompetent. All of a sudden, he's changed the trajectory of America 180 degrees, and he did so instantly. The second he got into office, he embraced the digital revolution because he understands that that's the future of finance. And so we went from 0 to 100 instantaneously. I mean, I think in terms of America, I think we've made more progress in terms of digital assets in the last 7 months under his presidency than we probably did in the 10 previous years. And the reality is the entire world is following. So much of the world looks to America to lead the way on so many issues, and then they use that as a little bit of a roadmap to either to emulate or to chart a path, albeit they might diverge slightly. And what he's done has really kind of transformed America, and I really do believe the United States right now is winning the digital revolution only because you have somebody that's so committed to its success, somebody who truly, truly believes, somebody who owned the asset long before that they were president, who saw the vision, but also somebody that had every bank and financial institution so weaponized against them that it forced them in. People always ask me, if the banks hadn't gone after your family, if they hadn't shut down all your accounts, do you think you'd be doing this? And I said, I don't think I'd be here. I think I'd still be building every single hotel around the world and in every market. And by the way, I still do a lot of that. But I don't think I would have fallen into cryptocurrency the same way. It was a combination of them canceling the hell out of us, them coming after us relentlessly simply because my father was in politics, combined with the fact that they were going after all of you. So many people in this room, they were going after you. And guess what? I started meeting some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life who are incredibly honest, who believe in the future, who believe in technology, who are great people, who wanted to build dynamic companies that could, transform the future of life. And they treated you like dogs. They treated you like hell for no reason whatsoever. And they were doing the same to our family. They were doing the same to us. And so, they often say kind of the enemy of your enemy is actually your friend. That's how the Trump family became friends with his community. The enemy of your enemy actually became your friend. And, as you talk to these people, you realize how brilliant they were. As you talk to these people, you realize how antiquated the old financial system was, right? At 4:59 on a Friday afternoon, you can no longer send money until the next Monday, which if you're very lucky, you might actually get to the intended recipient by Monday afternoon or Tuesday. That's not the modern world. Give me a break. That's not, finance has to be 24/7, 7 days a week. That's what people expect. That's what people demand. And we're changing that every single day. And so the road's been beautiful. The road's been something I would have never guessed in my wildest dreams. If David could have brought me back 10 years, no way would I ever have thought I would have been here. But it's also probably been the most rewarding venture of my entire life.
So your father's put Bitcoin on the global stage, and I have this perspective that money bounds people together, and so the Bitcoin nation, no matter where you live in the world, there's a common bond, and I think there's a big future for Bitcoin as it comes to diplomacy. And so I got a question this morning that I wanted to ask you in that regard from a CNN journalist that's here. Your father and President Xi are going to be sitting down to talk at some point soon. Is Bitcoin going to be one of the topics they talk about?
Never really expected that question. I don't know if they. Hey, listen, I would certainly love them to talk about Bitcoin because it's certainly something I'm passionate about. I think they've probably got larger things to talk about. But hey, that'd be my question. That'd be my instant question. Talk about Bitcoin.
I think I just want to throw an idea there. I mean, maybe we could pay tariffs in Bitcoin going forward. I think that'd be a great idea.
That's interesting.
Hey, listen, I think it's two things that America and China are definitely leading the way on is cryptocurrency. So it's probably actually something that the two of them understand better than anybody else in the world. But no, if you look at this, if you zoom out, I mean, kind of joking aside to David's thing, and I said this earlier, this has really become a community, and it's one of the most diverse communities in the world. I mean, you have more diversity at a table when talking about Bitcoin. People from different cultures, different societies, different languages, different religions, than I'd say any group of people ever. I mean, it really is a global community of people that all truly believe in something that's so powerful, that's so transformational, that's going to redefine the future. And it's beautiful. I've met more incredible people from more incredible places through this community than, honestly, even hospitality, which is kind of, has always been my bread and butter. It's kind of hard to believe that this group, I mean, so many of the people you'll see in this room, you'll see at the next conference in Miami, you'll see them at the next consensus conference in Toronto, you'll see them in Abu Dhabi, and you'll see them everywhere in between. This is truly a global community, and I really believe that's great for humanity. That's number one. Number two is one other thing that never gets talked about, and it might even be a little bit crude to say, but guys, the traditional financial system in the world has benefited guys like me, and it hasn't benefited the vast majority of people, right? It benefits the people that, were fortunate enough to have some zeros behind their name. They're the ones that have leverage. They're the ones that have power. They're the ones that can call the heads of the bank, and negotiate off a full point on a loan, or get all the fees knocked out, or listen, there's a lot of ways that we can, or just borrow money in an environment where they wouldn't give other people money. You, for the first time, have kind of a community which is agnostic to true wealth, and that's a great thing. It gives the person in sub-Saharan Africa, the same opportunity as it gives the executive on Wall Street in New York City. And that should never be forgotten. It's the first time in any kind of finance, probably in the history of the world, where there is no kind of disparity between socioeconomic classes, and that should really be cherished.
So this is going to be my last question. This is everyone's favorite question. Since you mentioned, adding a couple zeros behind your name, what's going to happen to the price of Bitcoin a couple years from now?
Well, I've said this for a long time, but there's no question in my mind that Bitcoin hits $1 million. There's no question about it. And by the way, I don't think it has to stop there. I think it could go a lot higher. You have every person who wants an asset class, and you have a very limited supply, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out where that goes. Then you combine a traditionally kind of hard asset that didn't have as much utility behind it. It was a true gold. It was digital gold. It was a store of value. And now every single day, and David probably sees this much more than I do, but every single day they're figuring out new ways to kind of stake it, to get yield on it, to use it for everyday purchases, to use it, as kind of buying power, right? So more and more you're taking this digital gold that was really just a store of value before, and you're putting massive utility behind Bitcoin. And so, I mean, every use case for it is fantastic. And honestly, volatility is our friend. Like, people ask me, like, when do you buy? Buy right now. Buy this second, right? I mean, I can't tell you how many people over the years I've told to buy Bitcoin, and every single time they come back to me having not done it, and they say that I wish I would have bought. In fact, I made one of like the great all-time Bitcoin calls on Twitter. I think it hit 83,000 or 82,000. And I go, right now would be a great time to start buying Bitcoin. Sure enough, it hits, 79? It was like 79 the bottom, like 78.9 or something like that. It's like 79. And it goes from 79 to like 124 in, 90 days? And I called it within like 1,000 or 2,000 of the bottom on, And then people come back to me, you should have told me. I'm like, I put it out on my Twitter following to, 10 million people around the globe, like when to buy Bitcoin. But I really believe in it. Go, buy it now, close your eyes, hold it long term, do not get rid of it. I think Michael Saylor always says, sell a kidney, buy Bitcoin, right? And I think he's, I know obviously he jokes when he says that, but he's right. Buy it, hold it, and I think you're going to do extremely well.
He's not joking, for sure. Actually, he sold one of his kidneys, I'm pretty sure. So, Well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being a part of a historic event. I want to thank Eric for joining us all the way in Hong Kong. Hong Kong, can we give a shout out to the one and only Eric Trump?